Hello, Helen. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us. Tell us a bit about your own connection and our history with the Irish World Academy.
Oh, and so lovely to be talking with you here today. The my connection with the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance, it's just so entwined in my professional, my personal life, as indeed it is, of course, with your own. The Academy was founded exactly 30 years ago. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year by, of course, your late father, the performer, composer, extraordinary educator, Micheál O'Sullivan, who later, was also my husband. And, I think what all of us, yourself, myself, all of our family, part of our professional connection is our commitment to continuing the legacy of the work that he did, which includes the Irish World Academy. And that really has been part of my own professional life for the last 30 years. And I think the space that we really shared in there was a shared commitment to the transformative potential of artistic education. And that really is what the Irish World Academy is. There are two kind of guiding principles right from the foundation of the Academy, which are almost like a set of North Stars for me, even now, since I came into the directorship position. One is the belief in what we call parity of esteem for all cultures. So, regardless of whether it's popular, traditional, classical, contemporary. And this was really important to us because the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance was one of the first academies in Ireland to bring Irish music and dance into the heart of its educational offerings from inception. And the second really important principle is finding your own voice. So in that navigation of culture, finding your own way of being a part of that. And it's the connection between the two of those. So we like to think that, we could have a student coming as a classical violinist who can find their way into Irish traditional fiddle, a contemporary dancer who might find their way into Irish traditional dance. And that is, I think, what BLOS, our international summer school, is about. It's about, BLOS, of course, means a taste, a flavor. So it's about allowing people a little taste of that journey, bringing their own culture, their own expertise into that environment where they might also find their own voice through an interaction with Irish music and dance.
Mm, beautiful. And actually, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the French horn player who's arriving this year does.
Well, there you go. I mean, we have the first, I think, ever PhD in Irish traditional cello playing. And,
Um,
so we have our, and like all cultural traditions, the cultures don't have a kind of a blockage to the integration of other instruments. I mean, we have something called the Irish bouzouki because, cultures just love absorbing
mhm.
interesting other influences. And that's what I love about the Academy, Owen, is because I often think of it as it's like a kind of an ecosystem, a cultural ecosystem where
Mm.
every practice, whether you're a medieval chanter or you're a contemporary dancer or a djembe player, every practice has its own environmental support. It's got its own specialist expertise and the things that it needs to flourish, but they exist in relationship to each other, which means that the French horn will encounter the traditional musician and make their own of it. And the traditional musician will encounter the classical repertoire and the traditional dancer. And it's the personal voice, I think, comes through the encounter between those. We often say, with all the classes we teach, often the magic happens in the space between those. And that's another lovely thing about the summer school, because it's actually bringing these incredibly expert people who have been, passionate about this together. And it's the shared community. It's that space of expert community that sometimes creates the right alchemy for a new magic or a new cultural voice to emerge.
And there's two things that I'm very proud of around this program, which we're calling Hibernian Horizon. And one is around the concept of autoethnography, and that every student and faculty is encouraged to begin the autoethnographic experience the moment we interact, right till afterwards when we reflect when they're back on campus. So the autoethnographic journey, which I know is very dear to the foundational philosophy of the Irish World Academy. And the other thing too is around, we've been talking about that, this interdisciplinary dynamic, and also how we're opening to creative writing in this experience in BLOS this year. So those two things, I'd love to hear you talk about those from your side of things too.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Oh, and when you talk about autoethnography, I was mentioning earlier this real core value we have about parity of esteem for cultures, but that also extends to parity of esteem for reflection and practice. Like higher education can, very often privilege the reflection over the practice, but we know it's a continuum, isn't it? We make work, we reflect on that work, that reflection feeds into the next creative step in our process, and it's like a cycle. So what you explain there about the autoethnographic, the auto, the person transcribing and inscribing their own cultural journey. It's very, very, very resonant with, I think, the values of the academy. And I love, by the way, what you say about this is for students and staff, because another thing that happens when you genuinely take parity of esteem seriously,
Mm,
the role of teacher, student, mentor, expert becomes very fluid.
mm,
And you end up having these kind of, in the best sense, like a genuine community of learners where the expertise moves between the student and the mentor. And I think that is a very, when you open up a space that invites teachers and students, to explore that together,
mm.
really encourage that moving of expertise where everybody becomes a student and everybody potentially becomes the guide or the mentor on the journey.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful. I know, myself included, ourselves included, I'm having a great time putting this together. It's been such a joy, and so grateful to be able to work with you on this level too, Helen. And so finally, yeah, the writing aspect of this. Talk to me a bit about how you're looking at that. Uh,
Well, like the Irish World Academy, as we say, of music and dance, a lot of the culture of the BLOS International Summer School has really been built on that, on the expertise of the cultural body, how the body
mhm,
sings and moves and expresses. But we know that those things are inseparable from our stories, our mythologies, our rituals, the way that we create through our language is a mirror image of the way that we create through our bodies. So we also have a really, really wonderful creative writing energy on our campus, and very strong, wonderful connections with our colleagues there. So we're very excited, and I was talking to them recently about the possibility of looking at how that, the creative body can encompass the storytelling body, if I could put it that way, and how close that is to the singing body, the stories we tell through songs, through poetry, through novels, through story. Again, it's a kind of a creative continuum, isn't it? And it's something I have to say, Owen, that I've always admired in, the way that yourself and Michal work professionally, is that the there's a very holistic understanding of the educational journey that doesn't really separate the mind, the body, if I could say the spirit, the creative spirit, that there's an understanding that any kind of creative education, or whether it's performing arts or creative arts, that if you don't integrate all of those, it's like a puzzle with pieces missing. And very often that singular voice, finds it harder to emerge without those. So I think that's something, my sense of your work, and particularly of this new initiative, is that you're very committed to that intimate space, if I could call it, of transformative education. And I think that, if you don't mind me saying, I think that's also reflective in your own creative journeys, which also I think resonate with those two principles I mentioned earlier, which is the knowing what your own cultural well is, understanding that as a key source of who you are, but making your own of it. At the end, culture isn't, I don't think we carry culture. I think we make culture. Culture is us. And it's every single individual voice there. And I've thought a lot about, since coming into this role of director, what might I contribute to the next step of the academy, to the kinds of students who might come to us in BLAS, who might want to spend a little bit of time, a week or two with us, who might want to come back and do a master's or do a PhD. And the word that keeps coming to me is the well. This well of culture that we have to draw on, and how much that has to contribute to our wellness, to our personal wellness, to our cultural wellness, to our global wellness. And that, I think, is what people get a blast of, they get a taste of when they come, the potential of their own cultural well to be drawn on, to experience others' cultural wells, and then to discover what is your own creative wellness in the middle of all of that. So I find that the approach that you're taking to this is very exciting, because it gives us the opportunity to, work with a whole other cohort of students in this context of the summer school.
Well, I'm so excited to think of who will be blown in to experience this, and the friendships and the relationships that will be gathered will be just very exciting. So thank you so much, Helen, and so looking forward to the work.
It's really, really nice to talk to you like this, Owen. And just, I might finish as well just by saying a quick acknowledgement of our incredible faculty, particularly the two co-directors of BLAS, who, are doing an amazing job at leading this. They're just world-renowned dancers and musicians, and all of the tutors and staff that they bring in and around that. So I think they're in for a treat.
Lovely. Thanks, Helen.